had much and got a lot of extra sleep.
Yeah, you probably needed some rest after your stuff from last week. Everything going on. It's always nice
Yeah,
to. I mean, Christmas for most people, you're a fortunate situation. I know you're away from a lot of family, being out in California, but it's also a fortunate situation that you can take a holiday and actually rest instead of running crazy like most of us do. And yeah, we of course still got the big party night coming up this week. I'm not a party guy. I'm not a New Year's guy. Uh, if I'm if I am up and doing anything, it'll probably be here online more so than sitting and watching the ball drop. Um, and most New Year's I don't make it. I'm usually done by 9, 10 o'clock. Normal bedtime. I'm out of here. It's going to be the
yep.
New Year whether I'm awake or not.
So for those of you watching on YouTube and Twitter, I was not aware that on Yard or StreamYard, you have to enable the other channels separately. So it takes like the first one for me was Facebook, so it automatically made that active. But YouTube and Twitter, I had to go in and activate manually. So it could have been a mistake I made, or it just could be a characteristic of the platform.
Which one did you say it did start live automatically?
Facebook.
Okay, so your Facebook. Maybe that's because it's the first one you put in.
I think so, yeah.
Probably. Okay.
Yeah. So the
So
first one you put in, once you hit go live, boom, it starts it right up. But for some reason, the other two, nothing happened. It didn't
okay.
do. I had to go to edit and then save both of them, and then it did it on there.
Okay. Yeah, I did see on your YouTube you are live over there now, so we're good there.
Yep. Same on Twitter.
Okay.
But you guys all have missed Jeff's intro, but you can see that on Facebook.
Yeah, right. Not a real big intro. Just talking about the holidays and the weather here where I'm at, and Chris got to take a nap over the weekend.
Yep.
So real exciting stuff. But
Yeah, I
yeah, we're
saw
going to talk.
pictures.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I saw pictures of Lake Erie, that whole area in Michigan,
Yeah.
and it was bad. I mean,
Mhm.
everything was covered in like 2 inches of ice. Is it like that over there in Indiana?
No, I mean I'm far enough south that we get a little bit of lake effect snow, as they say sometimes. But
Hmm.
I'm just far enough south that it doesn't get us too bad. We didn't have the ice per se, a little bit of the snow, but we didn't have the ice. Ice storms are not fun though. I've been through a couple of them. That's worse than having a snowstorm in a lot of cases. It really knocks everything out of whack. So, yeah, those guys up around the lakes, up around the Great Lakes, that's some brave living up there to deal with the winter time in those areas. Minnesota, got a couple of friends on Facebook from Minnesota area, and just crazy, same kind of craziness up there. A couple of friends in Canada, it's like, come on, people, keep your stuff up north. You don't need to keep shoving it down this way because you don't want it either. So, but the fun part is Florida being down in the southern states got so cold this week also, and so I've got a lot of friends down in Florida, and one of them a good long time friend, and he's always giving me a hard time about, oh yeah, I'm gonna go put my pants on now instead of the shorts, or whatever. But I think they had to bundle up a little bit also for a day or two anyway.
Yeah, because it's 62 degrees here right now in Southern California,
Yeah, is that
which is
average
cold for
temps?
this time of year.
Now it's like cold. Yeah.
It's a little colder than it, because usually in the wintertime it hovers in the lower 70s. Um, Last week we had temperatures in the higher 70s and 80s. The week before that it was in the 50s, and this week it's in the 60s with a little bit of chance of rain.
Yeah. I would
That's
take
it.
it. Indiana would take that all day long, every day.
But
in
would
the
you
winter.
pay the price?
In the wintertime, no. Paying your prices out in California, your cost
Yep.
of living, no.
It's funny too because for the first time in history, the population of both California and New York have been going down
Really?
because of the prices.
Well,
People
yeah, they're
can't take it no more.
trying to move to a more conservative price area. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Yep. I mean, and it's really funny too because like the nice plot of land that you're living on with your home and the buildings and you can't really see your neighbor in Southern California, I don't know how much that would cost you, but I'm sure it's in the millions.
oh yeah, easy, easy.
Hmm.
We just
Which is ridiculous.
even Florida is I mean they're more of a conservative on some pricing and stuff like that. But um, my dad's property, we just got a deal back or some information back from the lawyer, and the estimate on his not even a half acre, quarter acre, I think, was a lot more than what I thought it would be. But it's Florida, it's land in Florida, it's land of milk and honey down there. So
Hmm.
so yeah, their land prices are quite high, and so, which is benefit to me, depending on what we decide to do with that property. Once all the legalities get out of the way in the next 6 months or however long it takes.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're going to talk a little bit about buyer behavior today. As we get ready to look at the new year, there's going to be a lot of new sellers, I think, coming online. I talked to a new seller today. I'll give you a little bit of update on that and try to get some feedback from everybody on her situation. But yeah, there's going to be a lot of things going on, and people are going to go. And we've got experienced sellers that have been doing it longer than Chris and I have, that are kind of scratching their head on some of the things out there as far as trying to figure out sales, what the economy's doing. Are we in a not a depression, but a yeah, whatever you call it,
Recession.
recession. There we go. Everybody's been talking that. I don't know if they're using that as clickbait for YouTube videos or what, but there's been a lot of chit chat about people being in a recession or going into a recession. And sure, it's the economy has been shaky lately, and we're going to have to deal with that. As business owners, what kind of things can we do to strengthen up our business and try to maintain at least some consistency in it. So what was I was gonna ask you something specifically, Chris, and I got to think about it here for a second. But I guess I mean, we're talking about California and where I'm at in Indiana. What do you think the biggest differences in buyer behavior besides price for everything? I know you've got a higher cost of living out there than what we do, although Indiana's pretty high too right now.
Hmm. What was the question?
What do you think the differences are between somebody in California and the Midwest, Indiana, as far as buyer behavior? Do you think there's any differences, or?
There's not a lot of difference, honestly. Look at you and I. You're from Indiana. I'm in Southern California. And think about the things we like. We both like Star Wars. We both like collecting things. We both like selling stuff on eBay. We love a great deal. You and I have a great deal in common. We meet a lot of the same metrics, even though our geographic location is completely different. So, taking that into consideration, I would say, as far as geography is concerned, I don't think geography is as important as, let's say, personality. And everyone's talking about a recession. I see that word a lot, and I see a lot of the clickbait titles. How to protect yourself against recession, 12 products that sell even in a recession. I've been seeing a lot of that lately. If you want to know whether or not we're going to hit a massive economic recession, all you have to do is watch the national unemployment rate. The higher the rate goes, the deeper of a recession we will all be in. And it's just that it's that simple. It's just that simple. But even in a recession, in this country at least, when people aren't working, they're still collecting some money from different government programs, and they always seem to have a little bit of money to spend, whether it's on dish towels or a cassette tape with music on it or a DVD movie going for about $5. Certain things really will sell regardless of our country's economic state.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, then you're talking about also the the have-to-haves around the house. We found that out real quick with COVID a couple of years ago,
Mm-hmm.
as to walk into the retail store and which of the shelves were bare. Those are your necessity items that everybody was hoarding at the time, unfortunately. And then they ran into getting distribution issues. And it's funny. I was out driving around today. We just had a lot of running around to do, and looking at the car dealerships out there today. Some of the big car dealerships in the area that I know used to have unlimited inventory, they still have a bare parking lot for all their inventory. It's just crazy. What the dealership we went to take care of our Jeep this morning, they don't look too bad. They've got a decent amount of inventory, but right across the street, a great big Chevy dealer, and there was a couple others that I just noticed that still today, distribution of goods is still, causing problems out there. And I like what you said about the national rate of unemployment, because obviously, if people don't have a job, they're not going to have the money. They're not going to have that fun money, spend up the fluid cash. You've got your, they're going to do the basic necessities. If they see a CD or maybe a little collectible item or something like that on occasion, that's not going to hurt them. That's not going to keep from putting food on the table. They're still going to pick that stuff up.
Mm-hmm.
They may be more selective on what they're looking for, and maybe price. And if they're gonna buy it, they may decide to take a step back and buy something that's a little bit less quality to get a better price, or they may be sticklers and say, okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and buy this, but it's going to be the best one I can find. There's not going to be a lot of in between. Maybe that's what I'm thinking.
Mm-hmm.
So buyer behavior. This is I watched a video of a lady. I follow her. I was actually a part of her paid group for a while, just because I wanted to follow her closer. She's extremely good with analytics and knowing her numbers. And a video I ran across from her the other day was that you do not have to list daily on eBay to be successful. She was calling it a flat out lie. Now, the reason I bring this up is because so many times, and I've said it myself, you have to list daily. List daily, list consistently, list a certain amount of items per day for your store to be successful. And what she was bringing to the table was the idea of buyer behavior, especially since we're in kind of an economic crunch. Whether we go full-blown recession or not, or whatever, is yet to be seen. But the buyer behavior to the idea of, I can put 20 items a day out there consistently, and eBay, she was flat out saying eBay's algorithm doesn't register that. That's what caught my attention. I don't know if you heard that. What was
the proof?
The only thing I can think of for proof from her, and she didn't say it specifically, I know she has been to some of the eBay opens and has talked to some of the eBay employees and so forth, big shots, big wigs, whatever. And so those are some of the questions she has asked. What really affects the eBay algorithm to help you get stuff seen in your store more often, or in the eBay platform more often. And she was flat out saying that daily consistent listing doesn't always affect the algorithm. It's other factors around that: title, price, pictures, all these things that we have harped on for a long time. And I'm also bringing this up because I know you, Chris, with not you were under the weather last week, and you're still probably playing some catch up.
Mm-hmm.
You haven't been able to. Oh, did I freeze or did you freeze? You haven't
No, we're
necessarily.
both good.
Okay, you haven't necessarily been able to list every day like maybe you want to. And has that affected your sales, or is it noticeable for you at this time?
Not really, but I have over 700 listings up currently.
Right.
So you're right in the way that you don't have to list daily to be successful. That is true. You could list twice a week, once a week, whatever fits, or you could be sporadic. A lot of times I'm very sporadic when I list. However, 100% of your unlisted items are guaranteed not to sell.
Bingo. Yeah, that was the next thing she mentioned on her video, trying to explain her way through this, was the
Mhm.
idea that if I put 2 items up for sale on eBay and nobody's looking for them, they're not going to sell. If I put 5 items up for eBay and 1 or 2 of those are something that somebody's looking for, then I'm going to make a sale. So I mean, it's a very gray area sometimes. It's not always black and white on what's going to sell and what's not going to sell. So
Mm-hmm.
if you have it, get it up. I mean, if you feel like, okay, there is a little bit of a sell through rate there and you're sitting on it, you're never going to get it sold if you don't list it. And so I was thinking to myself, okay, you and I are about the same on number of listings that we have up. I'm getting close to 900, back to 900. I actually was over 1,000 at one time before I did a clean out, a purge of stuff that I didn't want to sell. And Chris is rebuilding some of his listings as well. And does the actual number of items on eBay make a difference for the success of your store? I'm going to say yes, but I'm going to say that with a um, caveat, I guess would be the word, if I'm not totally screwing my grammar up. And Chris, what do you think on that one?
Oh, I agree with you 100%. I really do, and I don't want to step all over what you're going to say next. So go ahead, because I
Well,
know where you're going.
if we are thinking the same, the number of items is going to help, that you've got more that's going to draw somebody in that they might be looking for that. But it's the quality of the item. Is it actually something people are looking for? I mean, I just already kind of went over that a minute ago. But so many times we have sellers out there, and I'm guilty of it just as much as anybody else is. I'm getting better. That is where our consistency and our learning curve needs to improve a lot, is finding the stuff and putting the stuff up there that people are actually looking for. To help them find that, if it is something people are looking for, it is something that sells on a regular basis. If What did I find today? Just as an example, the Colts suck, by the way, this year anyway. But this is an Edrin James, who played on the Colts. 32, is running back. Very popular name in football. It's a Nike. It may even be vintage. I'm not sure about my tag there, but I think I may have a vintage jersey on my hand here. I got to check to see what years he actually played for the Colts. This is, they're sold out. I mean, there's as many of them listed, and there's as many sold. So it's a good selling product item, and the only way you know that is to do your research. When you're in a store, when you're talking to somebody, if you're looking at buying from somebody off Facebook Marketplace, there's no sense in asking them if it's still available if you're not going to buy it, because then later on you find out it's not a good buy. So yeah, that's the caveat. That yes, you need to put your listings up, but we've got to get better and learn. It's a continuous learning curve, because there's new stuff coming out all the time. Obviously, trends change, seasons change. The question that was asked of me today when I was talking to this new thrift store owner, was how I felt about seasonal stuff. Does seasonal stuff sell for me? I said, well, yes and no. I mean, for some of my items, it will, because Florida and California have nicer weather, and they tend to still buy, shirts, t-shirts, shorts, golf items, things like that. Where no, it doesn't sell here in Indiana during this time of year, of course. So yeah, I mean, there's just a lot of variations in the items that you may want to sell. That now Chris sells a lot more collectibles than I do, right? I mean, you've got comic books and all kinds of a lot more collectibles. Those are going to sell year round. Am I right?
That's correct.
Yeah.
And it's, what's funny? Halloween and Christmas and the 4th of July sell all year round. Those 3 holidays sell regardless of the month. And don't feel like it's June and you have to mark your Christmas stuff way down. You don't. You really don't. You can run a sale, but don't think if it's sold for $20 during Christmas time, it's only going to sell for like $5 in the summertime. That is not true.
Yeah, especially your vintage stuff. If you've got some nice vintage Christmas stuff, it definitely, you're going to get your money out of it.
Mm-hmm.
If it's stuff people are looking for, if you list it correctly, good titles, good pictures, good. There it bounced out. Yeah, and good, good description and all that good, all the stuff that goes along with listing.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Although I'm not so sure about the descriptions anymore.
Yeah, that's still kind of a.
It really is, but I'm finding so far with my generalized description that fits almost anything I sell. Although I do have it slightly different. Like for the comic books, for each grouping of grade of comic book, I will have one description for that, saying that they really should look at the pictures for the details. However, these are all the defects that could be involved when you're buying in this grade range. And then for 150 comics, that is the description and it remains unchanged. So I do have that going. Although I find most people don't bother reading it. It's title, pictures, and some item specifics.
Right. Yeah, I mean, to me, I think the item specifics, you got to have the basic of what you're selling in there. You and I were talking about this the other day, chatting about it. I think you do still have to have the basics of what's in there. Some of the detailed stuff, depends on what you're selling, but for the most part, you don't need all the extra detailed stuff. The description box itself is more of a cover your butt section. I mean, I put in, you're talking comic books. I'm thinking video games. I always put in their cases. The video game cases can have a defect or have an issue, because I never know if there's a lot of games out there that I get have been pretty heavily used, or they've been in storage because people quit playing them, and so they get the cases get dinged up, or they get extra stickers put on them if they went through different stores and stuff like that. In fact, I was just digging stickers off of one a little bit ago, and it about wore a hole in the case trying to get the stupid sticker out of the way. But so yeah, I think it's just the description area is as much of anything a cover your butt area. And I think you and I are basically on the same track. I've got a few points that I put in there, and depending on the item, if it needs a little extra something just in case, then I have it in there, and let them go from there. It really is more about the title to get them drawn in, the picture to sell it, and the pricing, if the pricing's right, and the shipping, stuff like that, that's going to make a difference on whether they pull the trigger and go ahead and stick that in their cart. Don't want it to be a race to the bottom. We bring up price a lot. Don't want it to be a race to the bottom. Price it for what the market value is, and if you present it well. One of the Edrin James shirts that I saw that sold, I think it sold for like $34 in the comps. They had it hanging all kinds of frumpy, cockeyed up against a door, on a clothes hanger or whatever, and it still sold for $34. So could I gotten 40 out of it because my picture was better? Possibly my picture might have attracted them to it first. They may have seen my picture and said, "Hey, that's a good looking shirt," and went ahead and purchased before they looked through the rest of them and came across that frumpy, screwed up one that was in the picture. So pictures do make a difference for your buyers to make a decision, for sure.
Yeah, that's true. The best way to determine buyer behavior, this is why I say when it comes to reselling, the majority of your listings should be items that you love. Things that if you had the money, you would have bought anyway. This is the best way to run your store. Now, of course, I have things in my store that I wouldn't personally use. There's women's clothing, there's women's jewelry, things of that nature. I have books on there that I wouldn't read. They're just not things I'm interested in. And same thing with movies. I have a lot of movies that people think are awesome, but personally, I don't want to watch. I wouldn't, even if they were free, I wouldn't watch them.
Right.
Yeah, but that being said,
but we know that they're being bought. So why not go ahead and sell it if they're being bought, right? I mean, we know that because
exactly.
Why?
Mm-hmm.
Because
you just look up the prices. Yeah. But here's the thing: the best way to determine buyer behavior is to look at your own behavior, your own shopping patterns. Are you the type of person that if you really like something, you're just going to pay retail so you can get it as soon as possible? Or are you the type of person that always needs a deal? I'm the type of person that always needs a deal. If you shoot me a number, I'm going to talk you down, or I'm going to try. I don't care what the number is, unless the number you shoot me is the exact number in my head, which has never happened to me ever in the history of my business. It's never happened. Usually people look at you when they go to make a deal, and they usually start about $20 higher than they're willing to accept, depending on how big the purchase is. If you're talking hundreds of dollars, some of them will do like $100 to $200 higher than their bottom price just to see what they can get. Sure. So I try to talk them down as far as I can, which means that my average customer will do the same thing to me. I already know this.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Yep. So gauge your behavior, then you will know your buyer's behavior.
Yep. Yeah, it's selling stuff becomes so much easier when you're selling items that like and trust the item. We've heard that before. The know, like, and trust factor comes more person to person, but it also comes person to item that you're selling, because especially if you know the brand, if you know the manufacturer, if you know maybe a store that you're buying from, things like that. We know these brands are what we're used to and what we've been happy with, and so it's a whole lot easier to know that they're going to be bought. One of the sticking with the consistency idea that, okay, do I have to list consistently every day, comes down to the quality of items, which we've been talking about, but also the consistency part is for you as a business person to help build your good habits in your business. Does listing every day need to be done? No, not necessarily, but do you need it there as part of your good business habits as you go? Are you sourcing every day? Are you researching every day? Are you consistently in your store fixing things, reviewing things? I sent out I had time to send out some offers this morning, and I got a sale off of one of the offers that I sent because I got into my store. That's what I do. Everybody's schedule's different, especially if you've got a full-time job. A lot of sellers will recommend in the morning you get up, take care of your customer service, you take care of if you're going to send out offers, you take care of your returns if you have any, things like that, get all that out of the way, and then maybe get your listing done, and then later in the day you've got time to go get some sourcing done, or vice versa. Maybe the sourcing has to be done early, and then you do your listing later in the day. And of course, if you have a full-time job, you got to get your job done, and then you got to come home and figure out, okay, how fast can I get all this stuff done, and how many lists, if you're gonna list, how many listings are you gonna get done? So it's about the consistency of building habits for your business more so than the actual consistency of listing every day. Does that mean you should not list today? No. If you got, as Chris at the very beginning of the show, Chris said it, inventory you haven't listed isn't going to sell. So if you can list it, list it. Keep that as part of your good habits through the day. Good deal.
Yeah.
Everybody, have you heard the term selling nirvana? Chris, you heard anybody talking about that?
I've not heard that before.
Okay, so selling nirvana, per some of the YouTubers that I listen to, and it's just a name that they've tagged to, I don't know what else you would call it, but basically getting to the point of, if I'm listing 20 items a day, I expect to sell 20 items a day, so that you're always churning your inventory. So yeah, the only way you're going to get there is all these things that we've just been talking about today, is the consistency in building your business, getting out there and learning the new stuff, or not learning new stuff, but new stuff to you, but learning what it is you're talking about and what you're selling.
Yep. I want to backtrack for just a second. I want to go over the item specifics one more time.
Sure.
So when building a listing, we build it with the thought of people in eBay seeing our listings. Okay. But eBay tracks a metric, and their metric has to do with how many visits your listings get from outside of eBay. And the biggest one for this is Google Shopping. So if you have an item and that item has a UPC number on it, or let's say it's media, it has an ISBN number on it, you want to use those numbers in your listing. Even though nobody else is using them, you want to use them. And some of those recommended item specifics, because that's how eBay pulls shoppers from Google Shopping onto their platform.
Good point.
So think about that for a minute. Just let that sink in.
Yeah, I've been listing. Well, I think I messaged you about it earlier last week or sometime about the UPS codes.
Mm-hmm.
And anyway, as to why I had to put them on certain media pieces. But anyway, I've also found that I put the number in and it tells me they can't find it. And then I try to go on and it'll tell me, oh no, you have to have the UPC code. It's like, well, I gave you the UPC code, but you said you couldn't find it. And it was still giving me a red flag that it wouldn't continue listing without it. So somehow in there, generically, I've got a generic number that will pop in there, and I move forward with it, and it keeps on going. So it's not a correct UPC. It's not correct for that item. It's some random number that the system seems to be accepting. And it's like, okay, that ain't doing me any good, other than it's letting me go ahead and list it.
That is unusual. I've had it to where I put in the UPC code and nothing comes up. It can't find it or nothing. So I'm like, okay, and I click off of it. It usually will accept, if I did it properly, if there are no typos, it usually accepts the UPC number I give it. And I'm thinking, I don't know how their process is, but as they verify that the UPC number matches the product, I hope they add it to their own library to their own catalog of products. Because I believe that's where their information comes from, is us, the listers, the sellers, when we build our listings. Yeah, I think that's how they built their catalog, because a lot of the listings I find do not look like they were made by a company. The wording and the keywords chosen and stuff like that.
Right.
They look like a person put it up.
Yeah, so this
Uh,
was the ones I was working on a couple days ago was really old media, vintage media CDs and some a lot of old cassettes too. But then the ones I was working on last night were just some little NASCAR collectible cars, and the UPC code on them it was not having any issues. It wasn't bringing any up that said, okay, there's already some of these listed. Would you like to use that listing to help build your list? But at least it was accepting the number. At least it was letting me
mhm.
go on and go ahead and list it. So it must be just a little glitch in there somewhere, depending on the categories, maybe. As to yeah,
Yes, that is correct. eBay glitches, okay? Especially for the newer sellers out there. This is super important. You're going to run into eBay glitches that defy logic. Almost like there's a little gremlin in your computer and its only mission is to mess with you.
two of those this
These are
week.
eBay. Yeah, seriously, there's a lot of eBay glitches. For instance, when I'm throwing up a few, what do you call them? It's not a listing. It's right before it's a listing. It's
The drafts.
a draft. Thank you so much. Okay, a lot of times when I'm working on a draft, especially if I'm working with a UPC number or an ISBN number, eBay, I don't know why. I don't know if it's an eBay glitch or a browser glitch, but it'll take a portion of the number I entered previously and the last few of the numbers I try to enter now and combine them. And it always comes up as an invalid UPC code because the site itself is messing it up. It's not my typo. It has something to do with the saved data for the website versus the new data being entered. And it just could be a regional database glitch. There's so many factors involved. It could be a lot of different things. The only thing we can do right now is just recognize it. And what you have to do is erase the number. Then you can save the draft, save for later. Wait a minute, reopen up the draft and type in the right number. Or if you're like me, I spent about $35 and I bought one of these things.
Oh, the UPC scanners.
Yep. It's a UPC scanner. And this is set up in a stand, so I don't have to carry it around and put it down. And the button is always ready. But the laser is motion detecting. So it's not constantly on. I have to put something underneath it for it to come on.
Cool.
That scanner saves me all kinds of time. Now, it doesn't work with ISBN numbers. It only works with UPC because the ISBN number is never in the UPC code on the back of a book.
Right.
But for those, I have a Mac, and my Mac has an unbelievable, what's that word? Dictation. It's got dictation. I hit the FN button twice, and a little microphone pops up, and I just read the number aloud, and it puts it in the little field. That seems to work almost as well as the scanner does. But even though I'm using these machines, once every 20 or so drafts, the same glitch will happen where it piles a number on top of a number and says, nope, it's not going to work.
Not going to let you do that one.
Yep. And then it doesn't let me put in the right number. It won't accept any number, any changes until I close the draft and reopen it.
Crazy.
Yeah, it's eBay.
I'm gonna have to. You're gonna have to do a video on how to use that UPC scanner because it doesn't work with any kind of computer. It doesn't matter. You don't have to have a Mac to make it work.
No, this particular brand works with Mac, Windows, and Linux.
Good.
Yeah, and
so
it's super.
The basic idea. I'm sorry. Basic idea of that is I take my car here and I scan the UPC and then it's going to bring up the information for me, just like if I was scanning something on my phone.
Yep. Exactly.
Cool.
And all you have to do is click in the field that you want the number to go.
Okay. Yeah, that was that's what I was thinking. Yeah. How do you get it to where you want it?
You just click in the field like you're going to type. So any
And it's
field you click in on any website or application, it acts as a keyboard. When you install it, the computer will recognize it as a keyboard.
and so it's basically bringing it up as a cell similar situation. It's going to fill in all the basic. Once you get the UPC code in there and recognize it as yes, this is what I want to use, then it fills in some of
Yes,
the item specifics for you.
it does. It fills in only the item specifics.
Right.
So your title, your pictures, and your description remain unchanged.
Right.
Unless you don't have a picture, then if it has a stock picture, it'll put it in there. But once you load your real pictures, the stock picture goes away.
Yeah. Or you can manually delete it, depending if you need to or not.
Yeah, sometimes on eBay, you manually need to do stuff. Like we were talking about the UPC symbol. It doesn't always, it's not 100%. So the information will come up and you click it. You say, yes, use this product. And then it'll fill in some of the item descriptions, but won't fill in the main title of the thing. You know, let's say it's a cassette. It won't fill in the band's name or the cassette title, which is what you need to publish the listing. So you have to go in there and do that manually sometimes. But I've got to tell you, dude, about 45% of the stuff that comes up on UPC code, there's no information saved in the eBay catalog for it.
Yeah.
But keep in mind, I sell a lot of weird stuff.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah,
I sell a lot of weird stuff.
Yeah, you get into collectibles and different categories and stuff. You've got niches that not very many people sell very much of that kind of stuff. So therefore, the catalog's not going to be built. For me, selling shirts or video games is easy. There's so many of them out there that it fills a lot of the information in pretty quick on that. For sure.
Yep.
Good
that
deal.
is the truth. Yeah. The most important thing about the UPC numbers isn't so much a shortcut to fill in your catalog as much as it is a conduit to outside of eBay shoppers.
Now, that is a point that a lot of eBay sellers never quite catch on to, is that your buyers don't always come directly from just because they're on the eBay platform searching for it. They could be out on Google searching for it, and it brings them to eBay.
It's because they don't know. So last week, as Jeff was saying, I was feeling pretty ill, but I get bored even when I'm, on bed rest, really, really sick. My brain is still really, really healthy. And I get all these questions and I'm sitting there with nothing but a cell phone and time on my hands. So I went ahead and called up eBay. And I was ready to give them a blast with both barrels, telling them how they're going out of their way to waste sellers' time just so they can pretend to be like they're Amazon. I mean, you should have heard me. If I was the guy on the other line, I would have recommended deleting my account because I was a little belligerent. And he said, "Oh, let me refer you to my supervisor. He knows this better than I do." And this other guy came online and explained to me everything I've explained here about the item specifics, the UPC, and the ISBN numbers. That is this eBay's connection to Google Shopping is one of the main reasons that compared to all the other sales platforms, barring Amazon and Walmart, eBay is number one. Yeah. eBay has more online sales, barring Walmart and Amazon.com, than any other sales platform on the internet.
Right.
Period.
Yep.
And the other sales platforms they don't even come close to eBay's numbers. Now, eBay a few times have come close to both Walmart and Amazon, but they just haven't surpassed them. So eBay does come close to the big two, but the smaller platforms can't come close to eBay because of eBay's partnership with Google.
Yeah, it's just the style, because of the style of stuff that, or the categories of stuff that's sold here on eBay. Amazon's got a little bit of everything also, but they've also got their own products that they put out there. I don't know if eBay has its own, other than its packing and shipping and stuff like that. Doesn't
Yeah,
necessarily
they
have their own
don't.
products like Amazon does or Walmart does, so forth. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, this is a subject that we really need to dive into a little bit deeper and talk about some more of the search engine optimization and helping our sellers better understand where their customers come from. I mean, the average everyday seller, part-time seller, hobby seller, they probably never looked at analytics, at their analytics on eBay, just to see, okay, where did that buyer come from, or what's my
Mm-hmm.
percentage of buyers coming from organic traffic or promoted traffic, or all those factors. I mean, books and books and books, videos and videos and videos out there about to learn search engine optimization, and even the guys that consider themselves experts probably don't know it all, because there's so
Mm-hmm.
many factors that come into it. But if we can hit, the top 10 things that you need to make sure that your item is not just being looked at because somebody's scrolling through eBay or typing, actually on the platform searching for something. They are out there in the world, going to Google, going to Firefox, going to whatever the search engines are, and because eBay has those connections, drawing them in, that's how some of your stuff gets sold. I'm not saying all of it, just it's a percentage of your
Mm-hmm.
stuff for sure.
Yeah, I noticed that my traffic that I get from outside of eBay is roughly about 40% less than my organic eBay traffic. And I'd like to get it up to the point where it matches my organic eBay traffic. I think that will give me quite the boost in the search algorithm as
Mhm.
far as being relevant.
Yep, absolutely. And
Mm-hmm.
another piece of the pie that we can work on with sellers too is the idea of branding. Um, Knowing how to put your stuff. I mean, you've got the eBay algorithm, you've got the SEO going on, but also how to use social media a little bit better, how to use branding if you have a store, or whether you're thinking about whether you need a store, those kind of situations, because that helps bring in that traffic from outside as well. Just another little kick in the butt to get sales up and rolling as you go. It takes a lot. It takes longer.
Mm-hmm.
People that go to Shopify, people that do their own websites and stuff like that. Ton of work to
Mm-hmm.
try to get your traffic to a point where it's sustainable and you're making sales consistently. Amazon sellers, Walmart sellers, whatever. We get that extra boost of the platform, but we can also work on that other stuff just in case you would ever need your own website to live off of, just in case one of these platforms that happen to kick you off for whatever reason. Where's your stuff going to be at? Where are you going to sell it from? Well, you're going to have to learn how to yourself and bring your traffic in yourself in some cases. So
And if you want to know how easy it is to lose your eBay account, sell Nike shoes new with tags. I guarantee you'll
mm-hmm.
lose your account within 90 days.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
a big push to keep that stuff under control. There was somebody, in fact, I think it might have been James on My Boring Reseller Life.
Mm-hmm.
Somewhere as he was doing his daily work or whatever, mentions Nike shoes, and there's some like maybe overseas he doesn't sell. He doesn't let those go out on the overseas. It's United States only, because he has trouble, or there has been trouble with where Nike allows you to sell their stuff at location wise. Just another little
Yep.
just another little Nike blurb there to be careful.
Yeah.
Selling used pre-owned Nike, you're probably going to be okay. They've got the whole system set up to check them out and make sure they're legit shoes and whatever. But yeah, be careful with some of this stuff. Do your research before you really go gangbusters on selling the stuff. Some of the stuff, if you've got a supplier, um, yeah, just be careful
Oh yeah.
for sure.
Oh definitely. Yeah, because don't think, okay, eBay blocked me, so I'm just going to open up a new account like I do on Facebook, because that doesn't work, because you had a seller account, which means you gave them identification like your state ID card or driver's license. They know where you bank. They have a positive identification on you, so it's going to be really hard. You're going to have to do more than give them a different email address to get that account back. Um, oh, there was one more thing I really wanted to hit on that I thought was really important, but it flew out of my head and I did not write it down.
Ah, shoot. It'll come back to you. Write it down for next time.
Oh, dude, being over 50 is just a pill. I mean, sometimes my mind is sharp, and then other times I'm as absent-minded as, well, Jerry Lewis in The Absent-Minded Professor. It's no, that wasn't Jerry Lewis. That was the Nutty Professor. The Absent-Minded Professor was that older Disney guy, Fred something. Fred.
Yeah, you're going back too far for me.
Father and my three sons. I'm going back to the 60s, basically the 1960s Walt Disney movies. The Absent-Minded Professor was the movie that the Robin Williams movie Flubber was based on.
Okay, yeah. Now I'm with you.
Yeah, I'm a little bit of a cinephile, which is why it's super fun for me to sell DVDs. I love.
I'm glad you were able to figure out a way to get back into that, because I know that's a big area for you.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome. I'm glad I was able to get back into it too. I really don't know what it was that I did on eBay last time for them to say, we don't want you selling these on here anymore. Don't. And they did. They suspended me once for 3 days and once for 7 days. And the next one after the 7-day one is where they just completely obliterate your account. Yeah. So that scared me, and I took all media off my site for, I want to say, like 2 years. It's been about 2 years. And then I started selling it again, and so far no problem. So I don't know.
Yeah, well, like I said, it could have very easily keeping the keywords out or some of the keywords out of the description area. You know, just your title, just to get them to look at it and buy, and with extra stuff in the description, getting into a little bit of a copyright situation there. Because I know I've seen some of your older descriptions, and you do get very detailed with them. And I was amazed by that you could sit and write, type all that stuff out and come up with stuff. It's like, oh, that's way too much. But it worked for you at the time, and now we know we can do it this way too. So.
It worked, but it didn't really work. If I wasn't able to subsidize my eBay sales with bulk sales to other collectors and resellers, I'd still be doing eBay part-time. I'd still be a part-time reseller. But learning how to do that and network with people and stuff like that, sometimes they buy from me, sometimes I buy from them. It just depends. So we have a good relationship set up there. But I really wasn't doing it with just eBay, because it would take me 15 to 20 minutes to put up one listing.
Yeah.
So it would take me a full 10-hour day to put up 20 listings. Believe it or not.
Oh, I believe it, because I mean, I had to, until we really got back into our process, and we'll talk a little bit more about our process as we get into the new year, folks. We're just teasing you right now. Let me just say, Chris, we're still tweaking, still fixing, but Chris has even gone to the extreme of putting up over 100 listings in one day. Yep. Tell me that isn't crazy. All right. So we're going to show you, we're going to talk about the process of how that can possibly happen, because I think I mentioned this last week when it was just me here. There was a lady on one of the Facebook groups, and I was talking about listing consistently every day and so forth. And she's like, there's no way you can do 20 clothing listings in one day. And I was like, hold my drink. Let me talk to you a little bit here. It's still a challenge. It still gets done, but Yes, clothing can be a little slower depending on what you're working with, especially if it's vintage and high end stuff or whatever. But you got to be more careful with it. But your average everyday stuff, I do shirts and video games. That's my meat and potatoes. Chris is comic books and a couple other of his categories that he works in. And we know how to flip through them pretty darn quick now. I'm getting 20 listings done in a day. Not today because I've been out running around. I still need to do them. But I've been getting 20 listings done in half a day so that I have the afternoon to work on other stuff when I need to. And that has just been mind-blowing. And it's helping the sales for sure. Yes. No doubt about it, is helping the sales. So we'll be talking more about that as we get going, but we are at the top of the hour. Chris, do you have anything else to finish up with?
The last thing I have to say is, if you really want to know about eBay and you have a question and you can't find an answer for it, the easiest thing to do is call eBay support. Call them, chat with them, or drop them a message, and they will answer your question. They will teach you how to do it, as long as you're not being stupid and trying to ask them for their, very highly guarded work product secrets. They're very patient about taking you through the numbers and showing you how to do something.
Yeah, if I remember right, you can even get them to look at your listings. Hey, can hey, I'm frustrated. I don't understand what I'm doing wrong. Can you look at my listings, look at my store, maybe give me some pointers? They will. They'll do it. Yep. Don't be like Chris on, not feeling good and going after some poor customer support guy. It's got to go get his supervisor. But it's amazing. Chris and I and our other friend David, who's also out there in California, kind of chatting about this through the week. And I noted the fact that Chris is extremely good at looking at a platform, understanding a platform, and teaching about a platform, where I'm not. I'm more of a just jump in there and go and roll with the punches kind of person. But it absolutely is in your best interest to learn the platform you're on. Don't take it just from us guys sitting around talking about it. You need to get in there and dig in there and learn the platform. You can add in all the extra stuff as we go to help you out. So good deal. Let's get on out of here, Chris. I probably got supper waiting on me by now. It's been a great chat, and we will be back next week, folks. If you need to, my version of today is going to be recorded. It will be over on my YouTube channel at jeffbeeman.online. And in my Facebook group, eBay Treasure Hunters, which is changing back to Resell Treasure Hunters. I need to change the name back. I forgot the reason that I originally switched it in the first place. And then, of course, you can find Chris over Succeed with Chris is your YouTube channel, right, Chris? Succeed with Chris. Mm-hmm. And
yep.
Is there anywhere else to find you? I forget. Besides on your normal Facebook.
Facebook, website, succeedwithchris.com. But I still have to, I'm not pushing that because I really have to give it a facelift. Oh, and I have to get rid of some content.
Some of the miscellaneous
content. Longer applies. Yeah, it no longer applies. I've learned new things.
Always good to clean up a website.
It really is.
Always good to clean up a website. Yep. Mm-hmm. Good deal. All right, well, let's get out of here and skedaddle, and we'll try to figure out if we're going to continue using this streaming service or if we need to look for something else. So until next time, everybody, thanks for being here.
Bye.
Happy selling.